Welcome to Lead Pods, the official leadership podcast from USMB for pastors and church leaders, where our goal is to increase our impact together.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 103 of USMB Lead Pods. My name is Matt Ersman, and as always, really grateful for you spending time with us today. So today we are talking to friend of the pod, longtime USMB National Director, Don Morris. I'm guessing just about all of you know Don. He's been in his position long enough now that he's provided really great leadership for our denomination, both as National Director, but also, as you'll find out here today, before that he was also involved in several other leadership positions within our church family. Don is in a season where he's getting ready to prepare to transition out of leadership with USMB into retirement. We're all very happy for Don and looking forward to that new stage for him. So today, Don and I cover a lot of ground. We talk about his career. He shares some memories of things he's been really excited about over the years. He shares some pretty cool reflections of how churches have changed since the 80s when he started coming up in leadership. He has some good words for congregation members today, as well as for pastors and church leaders. Gives us maybe just a little bit of a sneak peek of what he plans to talk about at convention, and also what he's looking forward to, what he sees for our USMB future as some of these new leaders take their places. There are some really cool things currently happening and lots of great things on our horizon. So I really, truly am grateful for Don's leadership. I think he's done a really good job during his tenure. And whether you know Don really well or not, I think you'll really enjoy hearing from him as well as he takes some time to look back and reflect as well as we look forward. So let's take a quick break and then we'll get to my conversation with USMB National Director Don Morris.
Deciding on the right college is a big deal. At Fresno Pacific University, they get it. They are a private, nonprofit Christian university where your academic success is a top priority. Their focus on a Christ-centered education runs deep from the classroom to the field. Professors connect you to research and internships. Financial aid makes your education affordable. And with their 2- and 4-year guarantee, you'll graduate on time to launch your career. Visit fpu.edu for more information about their undergrad, graduate, and degree completion programs. Fresno Pacific University. Possible happens here.
All right, friends. Well, today I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself. Mr. Don Morris is joining us today. Don, thanks for spending time with us today. We've got a lot to talk about. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for having me on Lead Pods.
Yeah, great to have you. Great to be back. Great to have you back. You've been on a few times now, and I'm glad to have you back again. So we have a lot to cover, Don. So you're obviously currently the USMB National Director, and you're in the process of kind of phasing out. And of course, I think probably everybody listening knows you as National Director, but people may not remember some of your background. So before we get too far, can you just remind us some bio stuff? How long you've been in this position? What came before that? Family? Anything you want to toss our way here?
Yeah, thanks. I won't tell the whole story, but, going back a little bit, when Jana and I finished college at Kansas State University, I've got to get that in. I'm a Wildcat fan and bleed purple. Yeah, we were intending to be on the farm, family farm, for the rest of our lives and built a little house out on the farm, that kind of a thing. And then, God placed a call on our lives and went to seminary in Fresno. And that would have been in 1988 and graduated in 91. And from there went to Pine Acres Church in Weatherford, Oklahoma, and was very green. I didn't realize how green of a pastor I was until I didn't know how to do a wedding or a funeral or how to be involved in a board meeting and all that kind of stuff. So you learn real fast on the go. But we were there for 13 great years and just a wonderful church and a great church family. And we enjoyed that time in Weatherford a lot. Our kids grew up in that area and through the schools there. We had one that went to Corn Bible Academy. But that was just a real good experience for us and learned a lot, about the church and about ministry and about ourselves during that time as well. So when Jana and I were invited by Chuck Bowler at the time, who was USMB National Director, actually Executive Director was his title, and probably would have been in late 2003. And then he asked us for me to be the Director of Mission USA. and started that then in 2004. So we were in Weatherford for 13 years and then started this new venture and moved to Edmond, Oklahoma, near an airport here in Oklahoma City, and began that ministry with Mission USA. I would say I just thoroughly enjoyed that. That was so much fun. It was fun to be involved with church planters. It was fun to see and to actually witness people giving their lives to Jesus. I don't know how many baptisms I got to witness. Just a lot of fun being involved with young couples that were on fire for reaching people and seeing that happen over and over again. So I did that through 2014. And then
while we're there, Don, real quick, so I think some people may not know Mission USA. Can you remind us what that is and some of the history there?
Sure. Mission USA was an initiative developed by the U.S. Conference. And I think that occurred in 1996 at convention, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. Okay. An initiative called Mission USA for intensifying our investment in church planting, some church renewal, but mainly planting new Mennonite Brethren churches in the U.S. Ed Boschman was the first director, and there was a Mission USA board at that time, too, that was very involved and got things moving and kind of centered in Phoenix. Ed was in Phoenix. There was a dream to plant a lot of churches in the Phoenix metro area. One was planted, Copper Hills, which is a burgeoning church, and then it ended up planting Axiom Church. So there was fruit there in Phoenix, but other fruit across the country as well as that expanded and churches were planted. And then I think he left that ministry maybe in 2002, 2003. So there was no director for a year or two there.
Okay.
Until I came on the scene. So it was an initiative just with a lot of passion and desire on the part of our people, the U.S. Conference of Mennonite Brethren Churches, saying we need to be actively involved in planting churches that are gospel-oriented and reaching people that don't know Jesus yet and putting them in places where that happens.
Yeah.
And so we were somewhat successful. We could have done more. And I think we had dreams of doing a lot more than what happened, but still a lot of churches that are out there now because of the efforts of who we are as MBs and then through the mission of Mission USA. So again, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so I carried that through to 2014 and then kind of did both. If everybody remembers, or some people might remember, we did a huge evaluation and had a consultant that came in to evaluate U.S. Conference and our overall ministry and direction, how we wanted to posture ourselves for the future. And that was a 2-year process with some major meetings of evaluation and input from several people. And George Bullard was the man that came in to help us with that. And out of that came the future story. And that was voted on actually at convention in Denver, 2016. So I'm alluding to between 2014, when we started that study, to 2016, I did both director and Mission USA. And then in 2016, took on the role of national director. So that's been 8 years, and a lot has happened in the last 8 years or so.
A lot has happened in 8 years. So maybe we'll come back to that. But I know, so obviously people listening probably know that you are in the process of kind of phasing out. You're retiring, and the search is on for the next national director. So how do you, you've been very active in MB leadership for a very long time. So what led you to the decision to move on? I'm sure that was not an easy call for you to make.
Well, it was in collaboration with the leadership board and just trying to be timely with how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I didn't want to go too long. And so, it was a couple of years ago that kind of mutually agreed this would be a good timing, good process, give them time to kind of pause and pray and begin the search and not to feel rushed to do a search for a new director. Give me time to kind of phase out, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I would say, I don't know if announcing almost 2 years prior to actually retiring was the best way to go, because, and I told the board at the time, I said, as soon as we announce this, my job is going to change. And it really did.
Okay. How so?
People are, they're thinking, well, you're on your way out. And so, how are we going to do anything new? We need to wait. Those kinds of things began to be a part of the processing of things. So, I think maybe we could have waited a little bit longer. But once that decision was made, and then if that gets leaked out, then that's not a good way to do it. And so I think the decision was, let's go ahead and announce and let people know this is happening and give everybody the time that they needed to be able to do it correctly and do it right.
Yeah.
So they did ask me to develop a transition plan, and I submitted that to them. Okay. And so part of that is that I would have a little bit of time to work with the new national director. And so the hope is that I would be able to do that and have at least a month or maybe a little more to work side by side with this new director. And I don't know if I have a whole lot of knowledge to pass on, but probably a little bit, that's pertinent to the position. So much of it's relational that developing those relationships is going to be up to this new person to do that. But I'm looking forward to that. I don't know who it is. They have not kept me in the loop. So I'm as much in the dark as you are, Matt, as to, at this point, here in mid-April, as we're recording this, of who the new person will be.
Yeah.
But I know they're close to hiring this person. And so it'll be exciting for all of us to hear who that is.
Yeah.
They will have time at the national convention to address the convention, and we'll kind of pass the baton at that point, and I'll ride off into the sunset.
We'll get back to that because I want to hear what your sunset looks like. We'll get to that. Yeah,
but I don't know what it is either. Okay. So you can tell me what that needs to be.
Okay. Well, we'll write up your plan for you. But so leadership transitions are always hard, Don. And you mentioned there that it's knowing how much you communicate, when you communicate, who you communicate to. All those things are tough. And I've heard from pastors, even on lead pods, we've talked about this with some people who, when there's been transitions, I think it's fairly common for the lead pastor who's leaving to actually help with the transition, but then kind of distance themselves, like let the new person do whatever they want to do without feeling like there's this kind of figure over their shoulder. And I think that's probably healthy. I'm sure that's difficult for everybody involved, but have you thought about that? I think you're wise to stick around and help, but then at some point you're going to have to just let them do whatever they want to do. But I'm sure you want to be available to help. How are you going to handle that? Have you thought about that?
Well, let me back up just a little bit. I mentioned that Ed Boschman was director of Mission USA, and then Ed became the executive director of U.S. Conference after that. And so one of the things that Ed has provided for me since I became national director was a regular meeting with him.
Oh, cool.
And a person that that kind of knows the position, knows what it's like, knows the pressures.
Yeah.
And we just talked every month. We had a call where we could talk. And so I want to offer that. It was so valuable to me, and almost a point of accountability as well.
Yeah.
For me with Ed, and that was very beneficial as well. But, if they don't want that, then that's fine. But I want to be able to offer that, at least for a while going into the future. And I'm not going to be calling this new person every day and making sure they're doing this or that or whatever. But, if they want to call me, that's fine. I'd be glad to take that call and to help however I can. One of the things that we're trying to do even right now is to posture like a convention. I need to move into the background at the convention more than what I've been present in previous conventions. Just some of the things that are being written. We're producing, as you know, some new videos, and I'm not going to be in those videos because they need to have a shelf life, and I won't be present. So some of those kinds of things, we're trying to think through, how do we do this transition well? How do we also just provide the kind of resourcing that needs to happen in the future and to be willing to do that? And, I think we'll talk about this a little bit more too. We have several people in leadership positions in the U.S. conference and in districts that have retired either recently or will soon. And there's a lot of transition going on right now. So we need to do these really well. It's good. We need new people. We need younger people in positions. So it's a really good thing, but let's do it right. Let's do it well, because transitions can be messy. And if they're messy, they're not so helpful. And then it takes a while then to recover from that, and before some traction can be made with the new leadership. So I would just assume, the new leader has that traction right off the bat and run.
Yeah, that's super important. And we'll probably come back and talk about that some more. But since you brought it up, we are in this kind of interesting season where, Terry Hunt stepped down, Tim Sullivan, Donna Sullivan on the team. I think, like you said, I think there were some others. So it is kind of a lot of change for our denomination. So I think whenever things like this happen, especially when they're kind of in bulk a little bit, again, I think there's probably a mix of excitement and maybe a little bit of worry and stress among people who are super plugged into this. So how are you personally feeling about, does this feel like too much change to you, or do you feel like, nope, it's time, we need to get this moving? How are you handling just the amount of change happening all at once?
Yeah, for our U.S. conference staff, not only Donna and myself, but Lori Taylor, who has been our webmaster and has been a previous administrative secretary and has added so much to our staff over the years.
She's a superhero behind the scenes.
Yeah, she's retiring as well. So I twisted some arms with Lori for sure, and a little bit with Donna. Stay with me to the end, please.
Nice.
Because they are such tremendous assets to our MB family. And I didn't know how to, how I would do that transition well if we had made some previous transitions and then my transition. And so I do think the way that we're handling it with bringing J.L. Martin on staff, working with Donna Sullivan for a long period of time, and has a wealth of information in her mind that she's been able to pass on quite a bit of that, not everything, there's too much there, but to JL. So that's been really healthy. And I hope to have a little bit of a transition with someone that can come on and learn from Lori about the website. And so, those are really important to do well. So I don't think it's too much, but it's a lot. You mentioned 2 district ministers that are new, and that's also adds into it, because then the Board of Faith and Life is affected by that and transitions, not just the districts. Leadership board positions, there are 3 different people that are going off, and so there's transition there as well. But I think that's good. The church needs new life, new thoughts, new ideas, people with fresh zeal and acumen to be on the team. So, all in all, I would say, yes, it's a lot, but I think it's all good. At least at this point, I'm saying that. In August, I might have a different opinion. I don't think I will, but I don't think things will fall apart. But you're right. It is a lot right now.
And I guess with that, which I guess this comes with most changes, there's kind of the stability and comfort that comes with wisdom and established leaders. you and Donna and Tim and everyone that we just mentioned, they've been around for a while, and you guys know what you're doing. You know the history. You know you're able to do this jobs well. So there's kind of a security that comes with wisdom and experience. But then there's also like you said, the excitement, the new ideas, the zeal that might come with younger leaders. And again, it's kind of interesting. I think that we're handing over quite a few of these positions at the same time to probably younger people. So looking if you're going to just kind of forecast a little bit, do you expect that's to kind of impact the denomination even kind of quickly, or how do you see this kind of wisdom to youth shift? What do you see happening down the road?
So, as one that's older, I would say, yeah, that wisdom's so important. You need to keep people on until they're well into their 80s or,
Well, you're laughing, but you're right though.
Well,
I think we elevate youth too much, and sometimes we devalue youth too much. I think youth is interesting. Sometimes we're quick to say, no, we need a new young person, and maybe they're not ready. But then sometimes I think both are true, to be fair.
that's probably right. And I think you are right. There is value in people that have been around for a while. I know some things that a lot of people don't.
Yeah, true.
Just by being in this role
Absolutely.
and the things that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that somebody new coming in can't learn those things and maybe even a different way of dealing with them.
Yeah.
I've joked around a little bit with people because I've gotten several emails from individuals just saying, thank you on your retirement, congratulations, all of that. And so I tell people, I heard from the people that were really positive. I didn't hear from the people that are in glee and laughing and really happy that I'm finally getting out of the way.
Yeah.
Those people didn't say anything, but there are probably a lot of them out there, as I think about it. And so, there is that too. You can stay too long.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy for situation either.
Yeah.
So I think just trying to work through some of those things with others and, for instance, with the leadership board, with other people giving input, and not just saying, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to stay this long, or you're not going to get me out of here. You're going to have to, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the process that we went through. There were several people involved in that and giving opinions, and it wasn't just a knee-jerk kind of a decision. It was calculated. I think that works a whole lot better. And so the new life coming in, or ideas and all, as that can be ingrained into some of the continuity and some of the history that we have that has been good, then there's real benefit, I think, altogether in that.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I guess I'm curious, since you are in the position that you've been, since you've been around for a while, I would just like, if you don't mind, I'd like to hear you just kind of reflect. So you've been in MB leadership, I guess, since the late 80s, right? That's when you went to Fresno. So you were at Fresno, you were an MB pastor, Mission USA, now the director. What, if you look back at an MB church in 88, 89, and look at some of them that are thriving right now, what kind of sticks out to you?
I would not know how to pastor, or I would say pastoring as I did, that style would not work today. I think today's pastors, are under so much more pressure to perform at a high level. I think part of that has been because we now have so easy access to, the elite, so to speak. To the podcasts, to the sermons you can get online, to witnessing a worship service of 2,000 people or 3,000 or whatever that is. And with all the technology that's available. And yet the need for the local pastor connecting with his congregation or, or our associate pastor that are women, her congregation is still of so much value. that pastor that we turn to when life gets tough, and the pastor that's been there for a while, that we know that does one of our family members' funeral, or performs a wedding, and is part of who we are. Some of that is still present, and it needs to be.
Yep.
And I get a little bit miffed at people that pick and choose and maybe cherry pick and move from church to church because they're looking for this or that, and mainly are consumers rather than wanting to be members and pouring their life into a body of believers.
Yeah.
And so, I see quite a bit of that happening in our world today. So I don't like that. I guess I get it. It's part of our culture, consumerism. But I still think there's a place for people saying, yeah, we're going to be invested in this. We're going to give ourselves to this. It's not perfect, and the pastor's not perfect. So, I said some of those things kind of going back to, I just hear from way too many pastors that are getting beat up.
Yep.
They're getting beat up by their congregation. The expectations are so high, they can't, fulfill those expectations. And then they hear it, and there's negativity, and, they're working hard, and they're praying a lot, and they're giving their lives to things. And I hurt for them. And I wish, and I just wrote a Christian Leader article about this. It'll be coming out in May, because it's something that's on my mind and my heart right now. So I guess I have a plea right now on this podcast, and that is to church members to love their pastors and to give them a break. And if there's something you disagree with, go gently and kindly and lovingly, and instead of hurting them. I've had pastors say, as they're preaching, they see people just with the ugliest looks on their faces, and in the audience, just in negativity toward that pastor. As a pastor, as you're delivering a message and you see someone with that kind of a look on their face, what's that going to do to you inside? Yeah. And I don't think Jesus likes that at all. So if you're one of those people doing that, would you stop, please, now and love your pastor? It doesn't mean all pastors are perfect. And sometimes pastors do need to move on, but let's do that in a Christ-like way as a family. And these are people that have given their hearts and minds and souls and lives to serving Jesus. So, let's support them. So I was a little bit on the soapbox there. It's my current soapbox. So thanks for giving me a moment to do that.
It's a worthy one, because I agree. Like I'm not a pastor, but I feel that pressure in my role, and I can't imagine what people in higher positions feel. It is a difficult time to be a leader, I think. But along with that, I know, so I'm glad you mentioned that, and that is totally worth addressing. But I know there's also, again, if I'm in your shoes, you were telling me before we started recording, you've been a part of so many church plants, you've witnessed so many baptisms. I think some of the online technology stuff has led to some pretty cool things as well. So if you were to reflect back, again, I was barely around in the 80s, but it feels like there's a much bigger push towards church planting, and there's kind of this kind of a growth mindset that to me feels kind of exciting. So what about on the positive side, as you reflect 89 to now, 88 to now, what are some of the things that you're most excited about, or some growth that you've seen?
Well, part of the growth that I've seen in us as MBs maybe goes back, historically a long ways, where, going all the way back to the Ukraine and being in colonies and a kind of colonized people speaking a language that was different than the country of, Russia that they were in. And so there was a very close-knit feeling and family feel to all of that. So I'll be real quick here. So the immigration happens, and there's still that mentality of being fairly close-knit, married within the MBs, choosing your spouse very carefully, living within the community, so to speak. And so it hasn't been until the last few decades, I think, that we as MBs have seen evangelism and outreach as a priority.
Yeah.
And as we do that, it has changed us because we've had a lot of people that don't have that, and myself included, that heritage that have become a part of who we are.
Yep.
So that's good. But I think, that was a challenge for a long time too.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of pastors now coming from other persuasions and other educational institutions and things like that have now taken leadership that don't have that heritage and that feel.
Yep.
So some of that's good. Some of that, we don't want to lose our story.
Sure.
And so we need to keep that and keep that alive and well. But I do think that, in the past 25 years, we have been more intentional about planting churches. And as we plant new churches, we're going into places where there aren't MBs.
Right.
So 25, 30 years ago, we used to plant churches so that we would have a church for MB people to attend.
Right.
That's not the intent now. The intent is reaching people that don't yet know Jesus. And so as we do that, that's exciting. It's also challenging. So the excitement that I was sharing with you is being present and standing at the back and talking with a young couple in a church in Utah. And this young couple is saying, those are my parents up in the front. And they're becoming members. And they are coming out of the LDS church.
Yeah.
And they said they would never, ever, ever enter evangelical church. And here they are.
Yeah.
And our family has been changed because this church is here for us to be able to find the true Jesus.
Yeah.
And we're doing that together as a family. Tears were going down my face as I experienced that.
Yeah.
The baptisms are the same way, baptisms of people that have come to know Jesus. And to witness some of that, one more little story. I know maybe I'm getting carried away here.
That's great.
We've got a lot of work that we're doing now with immigrant ministries and immigrant churches.
Yep.
And specifically the Congolese, we kind of went through the Slavic phase and then Ethiopians and some others. But Congolese now, and many of those becoming member churches. But, I was at an event that I went to with Brian Harris, who's now the Southern District Minister, and Henry Ngolo, who has been involved with us in immigrant ministry, especially to the Congolese for several years now. And we were sitting there in this fairly large event of Congolese. And Henry and I were sitting side by side. And there were two men that were at the front, and they were kind of talking and praying and talking. And he leaned over to me and he said, "Do you see those two men at the front?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Back in the Congo, their families are at war, killing each other."
Wow.
And here they are. They have reconciled as brothers in Christ and are standing and praying together. And, that was another case where tears started flowing down my face because God was at work and we're a part of that. And the MB family. And, it's wonderful to see God, being involved and saying, yes, I want to use this little small family of believers to do some important things. And I think some of those important things are being available to him. What he wants to do is he builds his kingdom, not what we're trying to do. And so that's our posture. And if that posture is we're planting churches in Utah, right in the middle of 98% LDS, we're going to do that. And if it's Congolese that are coming to America and we're connecting with them, let's do that if God is calling us to it. So those are the exciting things for me, but I think that's who we are now. We're much more open for that. And I keep saying, I think we want more. So let's pray for more. We need to pray for more new church planters in new churches.
It's an exciting time. Like there's just a lot of, I'm with you. There's a lot of really good and cool things happening. So that's really good. Okay. We probably do need to start wrapping up here, Don. We've got lots we could still talk about, but I want to leave at least a few minutes for you to talk about convention coming up. July is around the corner. You're going to be speaking. Do you want to share anything? What are you going to be speaking on, or what else do you want us to know about convention? We've been talking about it kind of a lot recently, but what else do you want us to know, and what are you going to tell us?
Yeah, I'll keep my message to myself. It's going to be the most amazing message you've ever heard in your whole life. I guarantee it. So
I think if I were you, I would just go down in a blaze of glory. Just, take your time and do whatever you want.
I can say whatever I want and then walk off the stage. And
there you go. You should literally do a mic drop. When you're done, just drop the mic, walk off, go into
I'll
the
have to remember
distance.
that, Matt. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do that. Let's get
Okay.
a plastic one so we don't break one. No, I just plan to kind of tell my story a little bit, and then hopefully some words of encouragement. The people want to hear from the new director about vision and excitement and where we're going from here. So I'll leave that to him. But we have some great speakers. I'm so excited as we talk about being salt and light in a very difficult and becoming more and more difficult culture that really sometimes doesn't want to hear our message. Yeah. And how do we be the church? How do we be the church that Jesus has called us to be, and to continue to present that message in a culture that continues to change and is changing so rapidly? And I think there are still some places that want to hear and some people that want to hear. Yeah. The younger people that are coming to some of our churches, what they're saying is they're looking for places that are teaching the word in a deep way. Yeah. They're tired of the fluff. They're tired of the peripheral kind of messages that, are maybe good and mix in some scripture. They want some meat. They want to be able to learn and grow in God's word. Mm-hmm. We need that, and we need that. The people that we have coming that will speak are going to be speaking in that regard. Yeah. So we are still called to be salt and light. And we can't give up now, even though it's becoming more and more difficult in our culture. In fact, maybe we're privileged to be in this time and in this place, and to be able to present a gospel message that still transforms lives. Jesus is still about that, and it's happening all over the world, and it's still happening here in America. Yeah. I'm excited about the messages. I'm excited about the workshops. I think we have a great lineup of workshops. And, then the whole family thing and people getting together. Part of what we've been trying to do with the Future Story since 2016 is to build the networking across districts among our people. So the cohorts and different things like that have helped us to do some of that. The people have gotten to know each other online. And then hopefully, when they come together at convention, they know each other already. They can grab coffee or a meal together and really share deeply. So we're hoping for all of that kind of thing that happens as a family. We're intentional about the location in Omaha because we feel like a lot of people can drive to Omaha. So it becomes more expensive to fly. And we know that's not true for those on the West Coast. But Omaha is a fairly reasonable airport to fly into cost-wise. But, some people ask me, well, why Omaha? Well, Omaha has quite a bit to offer, for one thing. Yeah. We feel like Central District, Southern District, even the Eastern District people, it's drivable. And cost-wise, trying to keep some of that lower. So we hope people will join us in Omaha. And Pastors Conference, July 23rd through the 25th. And then the 25th is a Thursday. So that evening, we start the convention through Saturday noon. And just looking forward to more and more people being there. So it is time to register. And if you haven't done that, you can go on our website, usmb.org, and register and look at all the different speakers and the workshops and kind of get oriented for what's going to happen in July at our gathering 2024.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. So sign up if you haven't yet. So, okay, two quick things on before we wrap up here. I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit here. I just want to know, how are you feeling? This is a big deal for you. Are you excited? Are you sad? Are you worried? Are you like, oh my goodness, finally get me out of here? A little bit of all those things. How are you doing, first of all? And we kind of tease this out, but what are you looking forward to? Are you going to travel? Are you going to just hang out and read books? What's post USMB Don going to look like?
I'm still trying to figure that out, and I'm just being honest. There's a resource that some of the people from Multiply, our mission agency, have used that I'm using now to kind of work through the expected 4 stages of retirement.
Okay.
And so stage 1 is that you kind of referred to. It's the vacation, you got to go play golf, you go fishing or whatever you're going to do. And that's retirement. Well, that might last for a little bit, and then that's going to wear off real quickly.
Yeah.
So, I plan to do a little bit of that. And, I've traveled so much over the years, over the last 20 years, especially. Jana and I are looking forward to having more time together and the time with grandkids. We have 13 of those to keep us busy. So that'll be part of it. But, I don't think the Lord is finished with me yet, ministry-wise. I'm not sure what that is. So I'm praying a lot about that, or whatever that might be. I'm not saying a paid position or anything like that, but, I want to be involved in kingdom work still. And so I'm listening, and I'm learning. I'm trying to figure out what God is saying at this point. One thing I've learned over the years is God doesn't give us all the steps. He gives us the next step. And he will shine a light on that next step. And then once we kind of step into that, then he'll shine a light on the one down the line. So that's the process that we're in right now. But yeah, right at the beginning, I'm going to rest up a little bit and enjoy being at home and doing some of that. But I don't plan on that lasting long.
Yeah.
And, investing in timely things from that point. So thanks for asking me about that.
Yeah.
I thought when people retired, that's what you did. You retired and that's a vacation. It's Saturday every day.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not the way to go.
Yeah. I can't see you sitting still for too long. So we'll look forward to seeing whatever else you come up with.
I appreciate that.
Well, you may not like this either, Don, but you deserve recognition. You've done a really good job. And I think you have led with, like I mentioned, like stability and wisdom. And you are a very humble man. And I can only imagine some of the emails that you get, Don. I know some of the emails I get, so I can't imagine what the emails you get. So I just applaud you for a job well done. And for a small denomination coming out of Ukraine, I think historically, maybe not necessarily on the cutting edge of change, maybe historically, you've led through a lot of change. And even just your embrace of, that we have a podcast and that we have online cohorts, and you've embraced technology in ways that probably denominations similar to ours maybe wouldn't have. And even the way that you've worked with immigrants, I think a lot of people in your position probably wouldn't have been very anxious to lead immigrant churches in the way that you have. And so just want to applaud you. You've done a good job. Well,
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm not going to say any more than that. I have struggled through the years. I guess I am saying more than that. I'm continuing to talk here, but through the years, I've struggled, and I've been very open about the struggle of not feeling like I've done enough, or feeling like I need to perform for God to be pleased with me. And that's such terrible theology. It's totally wrong. My standing is in Jesus, and that's where my value is. Mm-hmm. And so, if there's anything of value for the kingdom, let God get the glory for that. I'm glad that he was able to use whatever I had to offer. And I'm going to miss, a lot of the things that I do now. I'm not going to miss some of those emails that you referred to. But I will miss a lot of the things that it's been a privilege to be able to be involved in some of these things. and to see God working. And not everything that we try works, and that's the church. I think every church does that. That's okay. But there are a lot of things that God has blessed. And so I'm so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And appreciative of the time that our family has allowed me to be in this position.
Yeah.
The gratitude goes the other way as well. So thank you.
Good. Well done, my friend. We'll look forward to hearing more from you in July. We'll see you then. And I can't wait for an epic mic drop. Whenever that comes, I'll be ready for it.
So you do have to get me a plastic mic. You're going to do that? Right. I'll start looking online for one.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Don. Well, thanks for your service and thanks for your time today. Grateful for you.
Thank you, Matt. Been a privilege. Appreciate it.
USMB Gathering 2024 in Omaha, Nebraska, July 23rd through the 27th, features a slate of workshops designed to highlight ways we can be salt and light in the world. Topics include parenting, empowering the next generation, higher education, prayer, outreach, and life's difficulties. With 5 options in each track, you're sure to find topics of interest. To see a list of presenters or to register, visit usmb.org/gathering2024 or call 1-800-257-0515.
Well, I, for one, am definitely looking forward to Don's epic mic drop moment coming up at convention in July. Can't wait for that. But again, Don, thanks again for your time today, as well as your many years of leadership. I really enjoyed this chance to kind of look back and chat with Don. And leadership transitions are always just hard, right? It's very rare that they're handled perfectly, but I think that Don and the team around this transition have handled it really well. And I really do think exciting days are ahead. I'm excited to see who fills some of these new positions, and I think Don's right that we're in a season where we're ready for some new zeal, some new ideas, and I'm really excited to see how that all plays out. So Don, once again, well done, my friend. Thank you for all your leadership, and I hope listeners, you've enjoyed this conversation today as well. And I'll just add my one little 2 cents here as we close, that again, I encourage you to sign up for convention. It's not too late. This is the perfect time to do it, so hop on to usmb.org. Sign up today, select your workshops, and I think it's going to be a really great week together in Omaha. So please do that now, and I look forward to seeing a bunch of you there. All right, and with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So thanks again for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time here on Lead Pods.
Thanks for listening to Lead Pods. Make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing to our show wherever you're listening today. Learn more by visiting usmb.org. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next time as we learn more practical tools to increase our impact together.